Tap tap. Hello, everybody. I am wickedly excited today for another edition of Email Never Sleeps. The title of this session is called Navigating the Complexities, Modern Casino Marketing Hurdles. It's a lot to say, but we also have a guest today that I think is the premier guest for this particular topic. Julie Carcamo, she's the president and chief brand strategist of J. Carcamo and Associates. Julia, give us your background, give us what you do, and then we'll jump into the topic.
Oh, wow. Well, my background is long, but I will tell you in a nutshell that I say that I am a casino marketer by trade and by passion.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. And folks, like we always say at the end, we'll give you the deets of where to find her online and connect with her. She's phenomenal, fantastic. I read her newsletter every week. So I can't say enough. I'm honored to have you on. And so let's jump into it because, we talk about casino marketers. And there's a lot of stuff that I think they grapple with, right? There's significant challenges. And in your my world's narrow in email, but your world is very broad. Tell me a little bit about some of the stuff that you see from people and how they're handling these changes, these broad sweeping changes over the last 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I think the changes have been pretty dramatic. I mean, let's start with COVID, right?
Yeah.
We shut our businesses down. We cut staff. We had to reopen with less staff, and
Yep.
we didn't know if our customers were coming back. And frankly, prior to that, casino customers were in the boomer generation for the most part.
Yeah.
And I heard Tillman Fertitta, who owns the Golden Nugget brand,
Yeah.
years ago, and he said that his casinos had lost 4 or 5 customers. This was pre-COVID, that they passed away, they aged out, they passed away, and it was a significant portion of their revenue. So the question then became, how are we filling the funnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think pre-COVID, it was there was a lot of hand wringing. How are we getting millennials? How are we going to get millennials? Oh my God, the millennials aren't coming, and our boomer customers are unfortunately passing away.
Yeah.
And then post-COVID,
Yeah.
and the fact that many jurisdictions said we need more money in our budget, so we're going to let those online guys in.
Yeah.
And we're looking at 20 some odd states now that have legalized sports betting, and a handful that are doing iGaming.
Mm-hmm.
And what that did was bring in the younger customer that we had been wringing our hands over for all this time.
Nice.
So now I think it becomes very tempting to say we're the younger, hipper place. Let's market to those younger, hipper people.
Yep. Yeah.
But in truth, we've got to find the balance, right? How do we evolve our brands and our experiences to attract this new customer and keep them coming back, but not to disenfranchise the customers we already know are providing us with a great deal of revenue?
And how does this work? How does this work from a messaging standpoint? Do they have to really sort of hone in and really understand what they're saying and how they're saying to attract these new people, as well as kind of keep the stand or the traditional customer? Like, and how do they balance that, right, in what they have to say?
So the good news, I think, is that we never said, hey, old people, come see us, right?
Yeah, right. Totally. Right. No,
And even pre-COVID, I always like to, when I was working at the property level and at the corporate level for a pretty mid-sized casino operator, Isle of Capri, because we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
We always tried to look at that like 40-year-old. We were actually looking at like that Gen Xer as somebody who was still younger and more energetic, but that our core customer wanted to be around.
Yeah.
So, that was always kind of where we stood in terms of like imaging and language and things like that. I think it
Mhm.
really is more about the experiences though.
Yeah. And I was going to ask around that, right? It has to do with the experiences, but what about the evolution of loyalty or the ability to keep having them come back through rewards types of programs? Do you think that those things have been enhanced, or do you think that they've kind of stayed the same with just some minor tweaks?
So both, but
Okay.
maybe not um in the best way. So I was
Okay.
having a conversation just this week. No, today's Tuesday, so it was last week.
Yeah.
With listeners may know the name.
Sure.
And he was saying to me that, and he works with a lot more properties than I do. I wish I was
Mhm.
working for that many properties, but
Right.
he works with a lot more properties, and he was saying that he was seeing card utilization at about 50%.
Really.
I mean, there were days when card utilization, when as a kind of overarching marketer, I would say, hey, let's try to finagle that down a little, because whenever we have high card utilization, we know that getting that dollar in the door is through offers and rewards. And so a dollar is
Mm-hmm.
not a dollar anymore. A dollar is maybe like 80 cents then,
Right.
Um, and so there was, as I said, pre-COVID, that kind of, how do we balance that, the business that we pay to get in and the business that we're not really paying to get in.
Yeah.
Now our card utilization has gotten so precipitously low.
Yeah.
Very proud I use that word, is that I feel like we don't know enough of our customers. We're not
Mm,
getting to know them.
yeah.
And so the question begs, why aren't they interested in our loyalty program? And I think that we've got to rethink our loyalty programs, always in terms of financial stability. How are we putting the best rewards in, but also how are we rewarding our customers for their loyalty and for
Mhm.
their repeat visitation? Because it is a cycle that we can put into place to get
Yeah.
people to come back.
Well, what's interesting is that, and I can't remember the name of the study, but we as individuals, the average person belongs to 14 rewards or loyalty programs across all different verticals. And they all have different tiers, levels, and
Mhm.
the ability to, redeem certain things. And oftentimes I feel like there's maybe some fatigue, right? Is
Yeah.
especially in casinos, because you don't know the power of the dollar or what I get as a result. And is that worth it for me to join, or card utilization or things of that nature? And so I think that there's this tremendous push, at least from my perspective, in email when people join and or people who have been a part of a loyalty or rewards program. There has to be a lot of education around like
Mhm.
they get as a result of this, because it could be quite confusing from that perspective.
Right.
um, I want to switch focus a little bit to digital, because I know you're involved a lot in digital, and things of that nature. How has digital, or the use of digital, whether it's email, social, app push, use of apps, iGaming, things of that nature, affected modern day casinos or marketers and how they do
Mhm.
specific things?
So again, I think about pre-COVID, post-COVID
Right.
times. And I remember, I want to say it's been more than 10 years now, sitting at a
Okay.
conference,
Yeah.
and I was asked to be on a panel where I was supposed to argue the value of social media, which
Mm,
marketers weren't using a
right.
lot,
Right.
at least not in casino marketing.
Right. Right.
Um, and of course, there were other people on the panel that were anti social media.
Right.
Now, that's all we want to do, right? Is speak through social,
Mm-hmm.
speak through email. But I think as consumers, we sometimes, as marketers, we fail to put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer and
Mm-hmm.
consider that fatigue,
Right.
right?
Right.
I mean, I know I sign, this is my journey as
Right.
a consumer.
Right.
I will be scrolling through Instagram,
Right.
and I have become, during COVID, an Instagram shopper. So of course I see something that's very interesting to me. I
Mm-hmm.
click on it or tap
Right.
on it, and it's got some sort of like, hey, take this quiz and we'll tell you your perfect shade match, your perfect vitamin pack for the day, whatever that case may be. And of
Uh-huh.
course, I'm going to know because that's why I was interested in it. And they always ask for the email, right? Give us your email and we'll send you your results. And then I start getting email after email after email after email, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day.
Mhm.
And at
Mhm.
the end of the day, when I'm finally looking through my personal email, I just start like delete,
Mhm.
delete, delete, delete. I
Yeah.
think that there's kind of this level, and I think that you and I had a conversation at Casino Marketing Boot Camp with
Mhm.
about 20 other people
Right.
about personalization and how it has to be more than just using your name. And
Yep.
so I think that you have to start noticing those digital signals
Mhm.
that say, hey, you know what? I'm going to change this person to once a week because they're not responding to my hourly emails.
Right.
And then when they finally do, they feel a little more attached to you. And I think that those are kind of the things that we never had to look at before, right?
Mhm.
Because we spoke to customers through the mailbox.
Right.
And I mean the physical
Yeah.
mailbox
Yeah.
out on the side of the curb.
Yep. Yep. I recently been working with a casino and we're talking about sort of their onboarding program and social and how do you integrate all
Mhm.
that. And, I've said this probably a dozen, maybe more times, either on stage or to customers, is that I think one thing that COVID taught us was that people want to feel this connection, right? We,
Yeah.
we lost connections with people, but people want to feel connected to a brand and the things that they do. And I think some of the most successful brands out there, and even some of the most successful casinos that I've seen, share their across social and email and the ability to say, we are who we are, but we do specific things that's just outside of the normal of come on in or free play or come
Right.
on in and free play or this offer, that offer. And there's this unique balance where they educating people on we're not just within these sort of four walls. And we talked about personalization, right, at Casino Marketing Boot Camp. And I think more importantly is the ability for you're right to hit those signals and say, this person responds more to this type of content versus that type of content.
Mhm.
So we should make that first versus second, and or add some sort of personalization, because I think casinos are data rich and they have a
Oh yeah.
lot of it. Sometimes maybe you can use too much of it, sometimes you use too little of it. And what's that fine balance? And that involves sort of a lot of testing and making sure that the social team or the direct mail team and the email team and or the data team are all connected to want to go and do the right thing and connected to do the right type of campaign, because oftentimes there's this very fragmented and in silos. And so personalization is key. And however you guys define personalization, and there's different levels of personalization, there's different definitions of it, um, is it's by trial and error, right? This isn't a, hey, we've got the magic bullet, here's the sprinkles and off you
Mhm.
go. And I think that's really important. I think I was at a conference in Reno last year, and one of the questions was, how do I get people to get involved in TikTok versus Instagram? Because
Mhm.
TikTok is the hottest thing, and we all know TikTok in the news and all this kind of stuff. And I'm curious, you know, there's so many channels to choose from.
Right.
How do you advise people on channels and what they should go after?
So I think that I really do apply the same kind of approach that I applied when I was only advertising through traditional channels, through television, radio. If I had a country act, I would book time on the country station, not on the R&B station, only because of that, right? That connection. And I
Right.
think that first of all, I think that the question was because properties were having challenges, let's say,
Yeah.
having their leadership approve their use of TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really wasn't that customers weren't using TikTok, because I am on TikTok all the time
Yeah.
and I see people that look like me. So it's not like as young as people think it is. Yes, it is. But I also think it's everybody.
Right. Right.
Um and
Agreed.
so that being said, I think one of the things is that you could use all of the channels.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the mistakes that a lot of marketers make, and not just casino marketers, I mean, I've seen big brands do the same thing, is using the same content across all the platforms.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do that, right? I mean, I do these
Mhm.
videos and I'm doing them. I make some adjustments for one of the channels in particular, not all of them.
Mhm.
We don't have time, so we just say, "Hey, let's post it here. Let's post it there. Let's post it
Right.
there." That
Right.
being said, when you're doing that, you do get data back. You get
Yep.
information. How are people engaging on Facebook? Is it different than when they're engaging on Instagram? Are people really taking to your videos on TikTok, but they're
Mhm.
not playing as well on Instagram because people are looking for more tips or more images or more on stories. And I think that it's always about data. We
Yeah.
get so much data, we don't actually know where to look. And
Right.
then I think that one of the things that there used to be this concept that I would hear a lot about. I haven't heard it in a long time. It was called the golden record.
I
I
don't know.
it was this sense that you could put all of your customers' data in one spot. So, Andrew, not
Yeah.
only do I know that you play, dollar slots for 2 hours and 22 minutes on average every Tuesday
Right.
or every day after payday, right?
Yep.
We have people that come only
Mhm.
twice a week, twice a month, right
Mhm.
after their paydays. Not only do we know that, but we also know that you like the steakhouse, or you always eat in the buffet, or you like an upper floor in the hotel. What we
Mhm.
never really thought about doing was getting all those other signals in. Andrew responds
Mhm.
to things on Facebook and then he mentions them or he shares them or he's,
Right.
posting video of himself playing on a slot machine on TikTok. That's this golden record concept. I think the person that can actually pull all these strings together
Yeah.
is going to have contracts with almost every operator.
And to your point, right? If we have all this data on Andrew and what I do and when I come in, this is an absolutely golden opportunity,
Mhm.
not to steal your thunder, but to survey and say, what more do you want from us, right?
Right.
We know you, you're valuable to us. Is it entertainment that you're seeking? Is it uh, experiences?
Mhm.
Is it what is it that you want? Because that's an excellent opportunity for
Yeah.
an engagement to feel as if the brand is really interested in
Yeah.
knowing you as well as you knowing the brand or the casino,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's what makes the difference, rather than just sending offer after offer or post after
Right.
post, for people to consume, because then it just becomes silent consumption, right? No one
Yeah.
looks at it, no one believes in it.
And we have a lot of casinos that do research. They'll do,
Awesome.
post-visit surveys. Sometimes
Mhm.
they're thinking of redoing something or adding something new or changing something, and they'll do surveys. I mean, I think that overall casinos do a pretty good job with
Yeah.
research. I think personally, I would like it if they did it more regularly and
Mhm.
maybe not in the form of 100 questions, but maybe like, 2 questions every quarter, something
Yeah.
that you can actually action on and then customers can say, "Oh, they asked me about that, and now I see the change."
And what an amazing opportunity to sort of test and learn. Maybe you test, like, after Andrew has gone in for the second time that month, trigger something, right? Trigger some research,
Mhm.
or like twice a year, things of that nature. And what's the ideal
Yeah.
response time? All right, so we're getting close to our amount of time, and I'm sure that we can talk about stuff for a long, long time, Julia. But I'd love for you to, because we've got a very wide audience,
Mhm.
very casino centric as well. What are you seeing now, and what are you working towards with casinos in general? I mean, there's every casino has their own individual hurdles, but what are you seeing, and what are the solutions, and what would you recommend?
Let's see. Gosh,
It's a
I
broad
feel that's a
question.
big question. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm seeing the obvious casinos are having challenges staffing up to 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just I think that's just a change in our culture.
Mhm.
And so because of that, we're having to learn how to do more with less, to
Mhm.
coin a overused phrase,
Yeah.
but also to really kind of understand where our business is coming from and focus on bringing in that more regularly, more consistently. So one of the things we discussed at boot camp was this notion of appointment marketing and how do we use our resources best to bring the best customers to us. And by best, I don't mean, the $1,000 customer, because to
Mhm.
any casino, $150 customer is a customer worth bringing back over and over again.
Mhm.
So it's not really about a dollar amount. It's everybody's best is different because of the way they operate. I
Mhm.
think that trying to figure out how do we, you know, take tomorrow and do better than we did today and
Yep.
do better than we did the same day last year. I mean, that's the only way we're going to be able to grow is if we do it incrementally. How do
Mhm.
we beat this day?
Yep.
How do we beat the next day?
Yep. Um, awesome. I have two takeaways for everybody, and I think the first and most important thing is decide on one or two channels that, especially in digital, that you feel you can be successful at. And because you can be decent at a lot, or you can
Yeah.
be really good at a few. And that might be email, might be social, it might be print, it might be, anything else. But decide on it and then dive headfirst into it and learn how to be really good at that channel before you move on to another channel. And I think the second thing is, you are competing, and I'll just say this from an email slant. You are competing for attention in the inbox, not just of your competitors in your area, whether you're local or not. You're competing with everybody else. You're competing with Aunt Mary and Facebook updates and other retailers, forcing stuff in the inbox. Make it count. Make it count to the point where that when they get an email from you, it's differentiated enough in what you say, how you say it, the offer that you give, the information or the data that you use, to where that person's going to want to crave to look at that email.
Mhm.
And there are several brands that I crave getting an email from because I want to see what's next.
Yeah.
They know me really well. And when you do that from an email perspective, man, you got them hooked on it. And that's the most important thing. Man,
Can I say
yeah,
something?
yeah, go
I
for it.
You said a phrase that I think casino marketers should apply across the board. Make it count.
Make it count.
Whatever program you create, make it be the program that customers are really enthused about coming to, that they hope will be repeated. If you're
Mhm.
advertising on TV or radio or someplace that isn't digital, make that message count.
Yep.
Make it stand out, make people remember it. I think make it count should be
Make it
the
count. But
marketing charge of 2024.
the average consumer today can spot BS. They can
Mhm.
spot specific things. And that's why if you invest a little bit more to make it count, they'll get it, right? They'll
We're
get
going to
it.
do t-shirts.
Yeah, make it count, right? Julia, I know I'm going to have you on again, number one. And I know that we're going to, like I said in the beginning, we're going to put up where we can all get you, get a hold of you. I'm sure you'll be more than happy, to
Yeah.
lend a hand. And you run a marketing boot camp, which I think all casino marketers, should go to. When's the next one and where is it at?
The next one is going to be our Midwest regional, and it's going to be in September. And then we've got 2 more regionals in November.
There you go, everybody. So look that up. It's a really worthwhile. I spent some time there, and the content is fantastic. So everybody, I wanted to just thank everybody in the for being the audience here, and your continued support of Email Never Sleeps. Thank you again, Julia. I really appreciate your time. And until next time, everybody, keep doing what you're doing. But guess what? You gotta make it count.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thank you.